Hello friends, welcome back to the Craft Castle. Today we are going to learn how to make one of these 3D letters that stand up on their own. Look at how stinking cute this is. It is actually almost 10 inches tall. And here is the back. Looks so cool. This project is going to be perfect for Teacher Appreciation Week or the end of the school year because it's going to be teacher themed. So with this project, I am not going to teach you how to design this entire letter because you know what? I have found an easy workaround way for this, and we're going to go to a website and we're just going to download the file. When we do add it into Design Space, there are going to be a little bit of tweaks that you're going to need to do with this design. We'll get into that, but just know that I am just going to teach you how to do the tweaks, customize the letter to your needs, and then also how to cut and assemble this. Look at that. It stands up on its own. I absolutely love this. Okay, so for this project, you are just going to need some cardstock. I am using my own brand's cardstock here, and then also we have a little bit of mirror gold and then mirror silver in this project, but all of this is going to be plain cardstock. That said, also, I did do print and cut for this notebook version of the front. It is a print and cut, so it's all printed on there. If you do not have a printer, I will show you how to do just the layers of cardstock, so you don't necessarily have to have a printer for this project. You could do it with just layers of cardstock. Then you're going to need your favorite craft cardstock precision craft glue. Mine's from Super Tight. Absolutely love this. You are going to need a tool that has like a harsh edge to it, a brayer. I'm using a squeegee from Tech Wrap. It is pretty hard plastic. You're just going to need that to crease. If you don't have one of these, get a credit card or something that just has a sharp edge so we can crease the edges. Okay, so when it comes to 3D letters, this one would stand up on its own. Some letters and some numbers are a little bit like heavy on the left or the right, and sometimes they will tend to want to knock over. Or if you are at a birthday party, like you're gonna make one of these for a birthday party and it's outdoors, if you don't weigh them down, what will happen is the wind will blow and then, you know, it will knock over. So how to go about weighing these down? I get a whole bag of these glass beads from the Dollar Tree, and we're just gonna use 3 of them to weigh this down. And so it has just a little bit of weight to it, but these are fairly inexpensive. You can get them at Dollar Tree in like a huge bag, and you're only gonna use a couple. Okay, and then depending on how big you wanna make your letter, you're really only going to need a couple sheets of cardstock. For this one right here, this one's 10 inches, and the blue, I ended up using 4 sheets of 12 by 12 cardstock for this. So it just depends on how big you make the letter is going to be how much cardstock you're going to need. That said, for this, although I used 4 sheets of this cardstock, the blue cardstock, I mean, look, there's like little cutouts of, you know, so although I had a full 12 by 12 sheet of the mirror, I only use like a little bit of it. So you really aren't gonna need a whole lot. Oh, the other thing too. So for these glass beads, what I'm going to use is my hot glue gun. If you do not have a hot glue gun, it's the only portion of the project I use my hot glue gun. So if you don't have a hot glue gun, rubber cement will work. Your paper craft glue won't work for this, so like rubber cement, or I would use this. The only reason why I'm not using this glue is it takes longer, and hot glue is instantaneous. So I'm trying to get, you know, the project done as quick as possible, so I'm gonna use hot glue. But if you don't have that, just get a rubber cement type glue. All right, let's go to the computer, and I will show you the website that we're gonna use to download this file, and then we will go to Design Space and get to doing the design work. Okay, so here we are at the website. It's going to be linked in the description of this video, but it's called CreativeFabrica. I have no idea if you've heard about it. I'm fairly new to this website. You know, I'm generally not the person that likes designs that are subscription based, but this thing, I mean, it is loaded with a whole bunch of files. It's great for if you have a laser cutter. It even has crochet designs and files. I mean, this website it's loaded. It's packed full of stuff. So what you're gonna do is you're just gonna go up here into the search part, and you're gonna do 3D letters and look at everything that pops up. I mean, and there's different fonts. It's crazy. There's a lot of it. Okay, so I'm going to link in the description of the video the exact file that I'm looking for so you don't have to try and search for the exact file. It is so simple. All you do is press download and you get every single letter and number in one file. You don't have to download a whole bunch of stuff. You just have to download one file and you get all the letters and numbers. I'm impressed. I really am impressed. Creating all of these letters and numbers would take you so much time. So if you are going to do anything with 3D letters, get the subscription, download this file, and then keep on moving. And then you no longer have to spend hours trying to figure out and design and tweak different things. Okay, when you have pressed download, all you want to do is open up a window in Design Space. We're going to go up here to the hamburger lines and we're going to go into Canvas. We're going to open up a brand new window in Design Space. Okay, then what you want to do is go over here into your downloads folder and we are going to look for the 3D letters. Okay, so it is going to come into a zip file for 3D letters and 3D numbers. I'm going to use a letter today. If you wanted to use a number, you can do that. You don't have to do the letter that I'm doing today. You can do your own number and your own letter, and I will show you exactly how to customize it. So if you don't need an S, because that's the one that I used, that's fine. Just open up whatever letter or number that you need. So I'm gonna go into letters and let me open this up into Finder. There it goes. Okay, so I'm gonna do the letter S today. So I'm just gonna click on the letter S. And then I am going to do the score. And then because we are going into Cricut Design Space for this, I'm going to do SVG. And then there is my letter. So going back over into Design Space, I'm going to press this upload button and then come over here into upload image. And all you need to do is take this letter, this file, and we're going to drag it over into Design Space. And then there it is right there. You can rename this if you want to. And then all you have to do is press upload. Okay, when you have that finished, what you need to do is you just need to click on the file that you just uploaded. When you click it, it kind of has like a green box and then it's on the bottom right here. When you have that letter, just press add to canvas. And when you load it in, it's going to look like this, which is not what we want, right? It's gonna be backwards and black and it just kind of looks kind of scary. Okay, so very first thing that you want to do is because for some reason these files are backwards, which I have no idea why, but it is. So when you just load it in, all you want to do is press flip and then horizontal. So now your S is the exact way it should be. Okay, then what you want to do is you want to do Command Shift G or ungroup, and that just ungroups everything. Okay, I am just going to click out of my letter. And do you see how our shape is black? What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go over here on the right-hand side and I'm gonna find all of these black shapes. So if you have a number 1 or a letter N, you're only going to look for the shape things. The ones that look like lines, leave those alone. And I've tested this with multiple files for this, multiple letters. It's all the same, it loads up all the same. So what you wanna do is pressing Shift on your keyboard, you wanna click the letter and then all its little shapes. We're just gonna come up here into operation and we're gonna change this to white just for the time being. We're gonna change that later, but just for the time being so we can see what we're doing. And then we're gonna click out of that. Okay, I'm gonna drag this over just a little bit so we can see. Okay, the next thing that you're going to need to do is if you go over here into this letter, it says score, but it technically is still a cut line. So what you need to do now is selecting only the lines. So we changed everything to white that we need to be actually white cutout paper. And now selecting these lines, pressing Shift on your keyboard, and we're gonna select all the lines that are left. And then we're gonna come back over here into operation. What we're going to change it to is score. You will need a scoring tool for your Cricut for this part of the project. It is very, very important that you get that just so we can have really clean and crisp lines in making sure that our letter stands. Okay, clicking out of that. Now what you wanna do is taking your mouse, your cursor, and you want to drag and only select one piece. So you see how this piece has some lines and then the white shape to it. You only want to select that. Don't do this and select both of them. We're just going to select the shape and the line, and we're going to right click and press attach. The reason why you want to do this is, let's go into Make It. And do you see how now like all of your lines are not on the shape besides that one we just did? That's why we're pressing attach. So we're going to attach them together. So when we go to cut this later, what's going to happen is all these lines are going to be on the shapes that it's supposed to, just like the one we just attached. So going over into the next object with the lines, we're going to select that, right click and press attach. Doing the same for the bottom, we're just going to select the lines and the shape, right click and press attach. Same thing with this one, right click, press attach. So we're going to go around. Some numbers and letters have less pieces, some of them have more. You're just going to go around the entire letter, making sure that you have all the pieces you need selected and attached. I'm going to leave these just wrapped around the letter because that just keeps things a little bit organized. So for the next portion of this project, if you notice, if you drag around this portion of the S, and it's like that for any number and letter in this file group, what happens is that you only get one side of this. And we're trying to make a 3D letter that has it fully enclosed on the back, but then also the front, right? So you're going to need two of these. So what you want to do is you want to Command D, which is duplicate, or you can copy and paste. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag this over. I'm going to select both of these S's and I'm going to align it to the center. That just tells me that now technically this file is like a perfecto file. I have everything attached to itself. I have all the pieces. You could cut this out and have like a really plain S if you wanted, and everything is exactly the way it wants to, and it's ready to be cut. Now, this is where we go into the customizations. Like, how do you want to customize your letter? For resizing this, we're going to do that at a later time, but we are just going into the how are we going to customize the letter to fit our needs. So just to relieve a little bit of confusion, I am going to change everything that I have in here blue, just because that's the color that I'm going to be using. I'm going to go over here into the right, and I'm going to scroll all the way down to the bottom. I'm going to select that S, pressing Shift on your keyboard. And now you want to select all the actual pieces. The white pieces, don't press Shift on your keyboard and then press attach, because it won't change the color. So we want to press that white S, the white outside portion, and we're just going to keep pressing the objects. And when you have that done, I am going to come up here into the white portion, and I'm going to change this over into blue, because I'm going to be using blue for my project. If you're using red, change it to red. If you're going to use white, change it to white, or keep it to white. Okay, and so for this project, you can see how there is going to be a little bit of a border. It's kind of hard to see, but there's like a little bit of an inset of the blue. So taking one S, I'm just going to click out of everything and taking one S. I'm going to come over here into offset. And instead of going out, because I don't want to go out, I want to go in. So I'm going to drag this little dot in. And it is going to be hard to see, but there is this like really faint blue line that's around the S. You are going to drag that over to the left as much or little as you want, customizing it to however you want it to look. And I'm just going to create a little bit of an inset. When I have that adjusted the way I want to, I'm just going to press apply. Now for mine, what I'm going to use is gold. So I'm going to come back over here into the black, which is now black, and I'm going to change it over into this like goldish yellow color. Okay, and the very next thing that I have going on here is I have one more layer. So the notebook is another layer, and you can see it's also inset into the gold. So having the gold still selected, I'm going to come back over here into offset again, and I'm going to create another inset. Okay, and then this is the same step that you did for the gold foil. Create that inset any size that you would like. And then when you're done, press apply. Okay, and so for this portion, I'm going to do white for it. So I'm going to change that black new S and I'm going to change it over to white. Okay, now I'm going to need those notebook lines. So I'm going to come over here into images and I'm going to search notebook. Okay, the one thing that pops up at the very top is this right here. That's exactly what I'm looking for. I'm going to press add to canvas. Okay, I'm going to drag this notebook over to the right, and then I'm also going to take this white S and I'm going to copy and paste. And we're going to drag this over to our letter. Okay, it's going to be up at the very top, and I actually want to be able to see those lines. So selecting just the notebook lines, I'm going to arrange it to the front. And then what you want to do is you're going to resize this into your letter. Remember, everything that's going to be inside the letter is what's going to be seen. So if you wanted more or less lines, see how now you have really spaced out lines? You're only concerned about what's inside the letter S. Don't worry about what's happening on the outside of it. So readjust these and resize these until you get about the look that you're looking for. There's no right or wrong answer here. It's just whatever your design's eye likes to see. Okay, when you have it readjusted the way that you want, what you're going to do is because we have two portions of this file. We have the red line that's going up and down, and then you have these blue lines. We have two portions. I'm going to select both the notebook and the letter, and I'm going to duplicate it, copy and paste. So now you have two. Going over here into the very first one, I'm going to right click and press ungroup, click out of that, and then I only want to delete. I'm going to start with the blue lines first. I'm going to delete this red line. Okay, selecting both the lines and the letter, I'm going to come down here and press slice. I'm going to delete this and delete this white letter. And then also, if you notice over here, you're going to have an additional one. So what you want to do is drop down your blue lines, and we're going to delete this white line right here. Now going over here into the other S, I'm going to right click and press ungroup. And this time I'm going to delete the blue lines. And then now what I want to do is selecting the white S and that red line, I'm going to press slice. Same thing we did with the blue lines. I'm going to delete this white and moving over this. I don't need that, so I'm going to delete that. And then moving this over, now we are left with this white portion. We don't need that, so I'm going to delete that. Okay, let's scroll back over to our letter, our actual file. Now all you want to do is taking your blue line, we're going to line this back up with our file. And then taking this red, doing the same thing. Let's zoom on in because we want to make sure that it's completely lined up with the white. Okay, that's looking good. So pause for right here. Remember earlier when I said if you don't have a printer, you don't necessarily have to have one because you can layer these on top of each other versus having to need a printer. That's exactly what's going to happen here. Now, it might be a pain to figure out how to align all these pieces up, right? So I'm going to select that blue line, and I'm also going to come over here and select the red line. I'm going to copy and paste these, drag these over here, get those out of the way. Instead of using the original ones, I'm going to go back over here. Instead of using the original ones as our cut lines, what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here and do basic operation, and I'm going to press score. Now pressing shift on a keyboard and then the original white letter, I'm going to press attach. So the same thing goes for the score lines over here. It's going to tell us like where, for the outside portion, it's going to tell us where we're going to bend our letters, right? Or the flaps. For this portion, what it's telling us is, see how this line right here is going to be scored? That's going to tell us where we are going to glue that red portion of the letter. Same thing for over here. And all of these lines that are going horizontal, you're going to have two lines. What is that telling you? It's telling you that one of those blue lines is going to go on top right here. You're not going to want to do it up here. You're going to want to do it in between the score lines. It's like a little cool trick just to make sure that everything is spaced and looks amazing. So when you have that done, we're going to select both of our original lines and we're going to go over here into arrange and arrange to the front, and we're going to drag this over. We're going to just lay this on top of those score lines. It's gonna look a little weird, but just know it won't end up looking like that in the finished product. But that way, what happens is you don't have to necessarily have a printer, and your finished file is going to still look amazing because you made sure that you put those score lines in so you can have everything evenly spaced out. Okay, so let's go back. If you do have a printer and you want to create a print and cut file, now all what you need to do is selecting the 2 lines that we have, and then also that white S. You're just going to come down here and press flatten, and that's it. So now you have a file. If we go over here and to make it, you're going to be instructed to do a S that is a print and cut, and then everything else is going to be your layers of cardstock. So 2 versions, 2 different ways. The end result, both will end up looking fabulous, but you just got to use what you have, right? Okay, so the other thing that you're going to need is like some cute little images. You can use whatever you want. It's your letter. If you wanted to, if you're making this for like a science teacher, do some science themed cutouts. If you're doing it just as a generic letter like me, I'm just going to come over here into images, and you're gonna add in whatever it is that you want. So I'm gonna come over here and I'm gonna press pencil. I'm gonna scroll down until I find the pencil that I used. It's gonna be this one right here. And I'm just gonna click that. So it's gonna be down here. Cricut Design Space is going to remember that I want to insert that eventually. I don't have to press add to canvas because I still need an apple. So I'm gonna come over here into the very top and I'm gonna search apple. And then I'm gonna scroll until I find the apple that I wanna use, which is that one right there. And see how now at the very bottom, there's 2 images. That's perfect. If you want to continue adding images, just keep searching away and clicking. And then when you're finally done, just press add to canvas. Okay, these got really big, so let's just resize this. And I'm gonna stay over here onto the left. You see how this piece right here, there's a lot of spacing going on, but then in mine, everything is touching. What you wanna do is you wanna take that apple, we're gonna right click and we're gonna press ungroup. And then I'm just gonna rearrange these to where they're all touching and looking cute. Okay, and for my particular apple, I have just a little bit of a offset here for the entire apple, and it's gonna be in that mirror gold. So I'm gonna select everything. I'm gonna come over here into offset. And this time, previously what we did is we went in because we wanted an inset. This time we wanna take that little circle and we wanna go out. I don't want it huge though. So I'm just gonna drag this over until I see the outset that I want, and then I'm gonna press apply. When I have that, I'm gonna come up over here because it changes to black. That's like the automatic. I'm gonna change this over into that same gold color that I used for my letter. When you're all said and done, just select the apple and that offset that you created, and I'm gonna right click and I'm gonna press group. Okay, just drag this over. Okay, and then for this pencil, we're gonna make it a little bit bigger. Now, if you come over here and you look, do you see how this portion of the pencil, let's duplicate that. Do you see how it's like all filled and kind of looking all crazy? I actually want to customize this a little bit to make it a little bit easier for me in the assembly process. So selecting the original pencil, I'm going to right click and press ungroup, and I'm going to find just that black portion right here, and I'm going to press contour, and I'm going to hide all contours, and then click out of that. So when we drag over that portion of the black, do you see how now we have a full black, and then we're gonna layer these pieces on top. So that's what this is. It's all layers, and they're all layered together. And then on the back, you can see that it's all just like a full black. That's gonna be perfect, and it's gonna be easier to assemble later. Okay, when you have that together, we're just going to select everything again, and we're gonna right click and press group. Okay, let's zoom out just a little bit. And now all we wanna do is we're gonna resize these to the letter. When designing this file, you wanna make sure, you can see how I put my apple and pencil at the very edge of my letter, but you don't want it to go further down past the bottom of the letter. The reason why is if you do that, and you try and lay this down onto a table, it will probably end up looking like this, or will fall over depending on where you place it, because you need it to be a flat bottom. So whenever you go to design things, make sure that you are staying no further than the bottom of this. If you want to carry things up top, that's fine. We're not concerned about the top because it does not need to sit on anything. Okay, the very last thing I want to do for my project is I'm going to put Mrs. Smith on there. You can do any teacher name. You can leave it blank if you wanted to, or you could do like first grade. So we're going to come over here into text box and I'm going to do Mrs. Smith. And then we're going to come over here into font and I'm going to customize my font. So clicking this font box, this will pop up. And then you can choose any font in Cricut Design Space, or if you want to come over here into system, this is all of your personal computer fonts. So if you have downloaded fonts that you have found on CreativeFabrica or even free on DaFont.com, that's going to be all right here. Okay, the one that I'm going to be using today is called Always in My Heart. And I am going to select that and we're going to make this just a little bit bigger so we can see. Okay, sometimes depending on the font that you're using, the spacing can get a little wonky. If you would like to readjust your font to create better spacing, what you want to do is right click and press Ungroup. Okay, and then what you want to do is just come over here and we're just going to move around and adjust the spacing the way you would like things to look. Okay, when you have it adjusted the way you want, we're going to select everything. We're going to right click and press Combine and then Weld. Okay, I'm going to change this over into black because that's the color that I'm going to be using for my project. And then I want to create a little bit of an offset because I'm going to use that mirror gold for this. So then coming over here into offset, and again, same thing we did before. We're just going to create a little bit of an offset. When you have it the way you want it to look like, remember we're paying attention to that blue line, just press apply. I'm going to come up here because now for some reason this got changed to a charcoal gray. So I'm going to come up here and I'm going to do that gold mustardy color because that is the color that I chose for the mirror gold. Click out of that. We're going to select both of those right here and we're going to right click and press group. And then we're just going to drag this over into our letter. Resize this to fit your letter. If you want it up here, just resize it. You want to kind of place these in the spot of where you think you're going to want to glue it just to make sure that it all looks appropriate and perfectly sized for later when you go to assemble this. Okay, when you are done, when it looks, technically that letter right here, this middle center letter is exactly the way I want it to look. I have all my pieces that I want right here and it looks fabulous. So now you're going to want to resize this. Selecting everything, you're going to trust the process. It is going to get a little dicey here, but just know, trust the process. I am going to align it to the center. So now all the pieces that I have are all selected and all grouped in one area. You're going to come up over here. You're going to make sure that this lock right here is locked up. You do not want to unlock that. And then we're going to adjust the height. We're going to come over here into height. And we're going to change this over to any height that you want. The larger the letter, the easier it's going to be to assemble. So if this is going to be your first one, try and do a larger letter just so you don't get frustrated at the end when we go to assemble all these pieces, because it does kind of get a little tight in the corners trying to put your fingers in it. So the larger the number, the easier it's going to be to assemble. I'm going to make this as big as my print thin cut file will allow. And now my final letter is going to be over 10 inches. And that is like a gigantic letter. It's huge. Okay, so when you have it sized exactly the way you want, all you need to do is press make it. Okay, so let's go to the Cricuts and we're going to cut our letter and then we'll come back and we'll assemble it.
What I always suggest doing is pulling out all the sheets that you're going to need and line them up just so you know exactly what everything is going to look like and making sure that they all look good together.
Cutting on the Cricuts is fairly simple. You want to make sure that the score tool is in your machine. You can see that like white stick that's popping up out of the left portion, or I think it's the A portion of the Cricut. You want to make sure that their score tool is in there. And then you just want to put the mat underneath the white brackets and press the blinking arrow button. And then you want to press the blinking C button to cut. Okay, and then you just need to keep inserting and ejecting your mats until you've used all the pieces of paper that you need. What I like to do when I'm cutting is I like to create piles. So like the pencil is going to have its own pile, the pieces for the apple will have its own pile, just so I can keep things nicely organized. Okay, the very first thing you want to do is make sure that we bend all of our score marks and lines, because we're going to need to glue this, and the gluing process does go a little fast. So you want to make sure that you're very prepared for the glue to dry and everything like that. So we're going to just fold all these score lines in. You could use a brayer, a credit card, anything that has a nice solid line, just like that. Okay, and then you also want to do these lines too. So every single score line, you want to make sure that everything is hard folded and creased. It'll be ready to go for us when we start gluing. Okay, when everything is creased and then you have it all organized, go back to your directions of the letter that you're working with. The greatest thing about CreativeFabrica is they do have assembly instructions for how to put these together. So remember, for some reason, this was backwards. So we're gonna go backwards. We're gonna assemble this backwards. So this one, okay, and because we're going at this backwards, we just wanna make sure that we are paying attention to how everything is gonna be gluing. The very first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put a little dab of glue on the portions of this particular one. So one goes with one, and it's going to hit 1, 2, 3, 4. So on the 4 lines, I'm going to take my glue just like that. Okay. Now what you want to do is line up your creases. Okay. And then number 2 is going to go like this. And this needs to connect. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put a little dab of glue right here. And then also 1, 2, and 3. Okay, I'm going to lay down my very flat one first, the bottom portion, and then I'm also going to just grab onto my tab and kind of push them together. Okay, number 3 is this one. So doing just a line of glue on the tab, and then also doing 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, number 4. This one does not have a tab on this side, so I'm going to put it on the inside of this right here. And then also we have 1, 2, 3, 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. You want to make sure that your tabs go on the inside of your letter. You don't want to see those tabs on the outside. Okay, the very last one. So this one's going to have 2 tabs to close in. So you're going to do one on the inside, and then also this one right here. And then there we go. Okay. Line on the very outside. Okay, when you close it up, you want to make sure that that tab is on the inside of your letter. You don't want it on the outside, just like everything else. Okay, now that we have the front all glued on there and then these right here, what we're gonna do is we're gonna pause and we're going to let this dry, because the last thing you wanna do is start assembling everything else and it fall apart. So setting that over to the side, and then we just want to glue our little pieces that we have. We just wanna glue those together. And for super small pieces, I always like to use like my pickup tool, and that just picks up all the small little pieces so I don't have to fumble around with my hand. Okay, so this is the front of our S, the one that is now dry. So what we're gonna do is we're just gonna go and add this in there first. You just wanna add a little bit of glue on the entire back side of the marigold, and then you're going to push it onto the blue portion of your letter. That being said, because we are in like 3D mode at this point, you are going to need to like flip it over and use your hands to the inside of your letter and kind of press your paper down. Okay, moving on to the white part, doing the same thing that you did with the gold. You just want to add a little bit of glue to the entire inside portion and then press down, making a good seal. Okay, doing the same thing that we keep on doing. We're just going to take our pieces. We're going to just dry fit them onto our letter first. And then you just want to take a little bit of glue, glue it, and then lay it down onto your letter. Look at how cute this is. Oh my goodness, I am obsessed. Okay, so some letters don't like to stand up on their own. They like to fall over. It's obviously going to be hard to tell because the back is not on yet. So when we stand this up, what's going to happen is we might have some leaning, right? And to make sure we don't get it to fall or to blow over if it's in the wind, I like to take little glass beads. You can get them at the Dollar Tree for a big bag for $1.25, but you just want to add some weight into your letter. So all I'm doing is just taking a little bit of hot glue in a few of these little beads, and I'm going to glue them into the bottom of my letter. Okay, see that? Okay, so that's just going to give it a little bit of stability, and obviously right now it's going to be leaning really bad because we don't have the back on there. Okay, so then when everything is glued on, you just want to turn this back around, and we are going to just put glue on all of our tabs and then pull them up to where they're about 90 degree. Okay, then all you want to do is add in your other one. So we'll go in here. Okay, then you're going to want to let that dry to make sure that all the tabs dry and it's completely sealed. Look at how cute this is. Let's pretend that this is dry. And there you go. It stands up on its own. Look at that. It's completely erect. The back looks fabulous, and so does the front. Again, letting this dry to make sure that everything is flat and ready to be gifted. But when you're essentially done, it will stand up on its own and look beautiful. How stinking cute is this? All right, y'all, I sure hope I inspired you to make, and I will see you later.